Chapter 70. I was on top of the world. I set goals and off I whirled. Now I stand here, stuck and alone, all my dreams to pieces blown. Are you sure you want to go home? His light grey gaze didn't leave her for a second. Truthfully, Jenny answered that she didn't want to, but it was time. They were sitting at the table eating breakfast, crisp bread and milk. You know you don't have to worry about anything when you're here. Dieter was not supposed to go in. Nothing like that will happen again. I know, it's got nothing to do with that. I just need to get home. I've already skipped school for a couple of days. My parents will soon be home for a trip, and if I'm not home then, they might call the police. It was not until she heard herself saying that she realized that Agneta and Keivan might have done just that. After all, she had been gone for almost 4 days. Anyway, I need to go home. Okay. He took another bite of his sandwich. But you still can't drive. Your hand isn't good enough. She lifted her hand and moved her stiff fingers. They didn't hurt anymore, but they were still numb and clumsy. I won't let you drive with that hand. You can only go by motorcycle when you're completely okay. Diego sounded determined. He always did. But my motorcycle, I'll drive you home today, and in a couple of days I'll bring your motorcycle to you. If that's not good enough, you'll have to stay here until your hand is fine. His features were even sharper than usual. Thank you. If you bring me and then my bike, that would be great. She took a sip of milk. His face softened when he did the same. This time she chose to ride on the back of his Yamaha VMAX, a real muscle bike. She decided to enjoy the ride as much as possible, and sat close to Diego while concentrating on the scents and sounds that came to her through her helmet. He drove her to Gothenburg and she directed him to her parents' house. She still had her stuff there, a mobile phone and a wallet. When he drove into the street, she looked around to see if she could see anyone, but she didn't see the police, her parents, Agneta or Keivan. What a relief. When he stopped, she got off. He didn't turn off the engine or raise the visor. Apparently, he wanted to leave immediately. She mimed, "Thank you," and put her hand on his. He nodded briefly and turned the motorcycle around. When he left, he did a wheelie. Once again, she thought about how much she would love to drive like he did. As soon as she entered the house, she felt bad. It was as if the despair and desperation she had felt before leaving had remained in the house, waiting for her to come back. She stopped as soon as she came in and sank to the floor without even taking off her jacket or boots. It was over. She and Keivan were no longer an item. What was left now? After the beating, her life had been focused on him. Going with him to physiotherapy, picking up his cane, being the good girlfriend, trying to make up for what she could never repair. Now, when all that was gone, what was there for her? As she sat there, she saw the small hallway table. Her cell phone was on top of it. Without standing up, she shuffled on her knees to the table. The phone battery was almost empty, but she saw that she had 30 text messages and almost as many voicemails. One was from her parents, who told her they were fine. In other words, they didn't know she had been gone. At least that was something. All the other messages were from Keivan or Agneta. She deleted them without even opening them. Just as she had emptied the inbox, the doorbell rang. "Jenny, let me in. I saw you when you arrived. Open the door. We've been so worried. How are you? Is everything okay?" She turned her face to the door in Agneta's voice, but she remained on the floor. "Is everything okay?" She stared at the door in disbelief. "Are you fucking kidding me?" "Sorry, of course it's not okay, but you're not like hurt or anything." Jenny looked at the floor and slowly shook her head. "Come on, let me in. I'm your best friend. You're supposed to accept help from your best friend when you're having a hard time. Open the door." "Oh, was that what Keivan did?" Jenny's voice was razor sharp. "Yes, that's exactly what he did, Jenny." Agneta also raised her voice. "He and I would never go behind your back. You know that." "No, I don't know that at all. You've been in love with him for as long as I can remember. Of course you're taking your chance." By now, Agneta realized that the door was unlocked, so she opened it and stepped inside. When she saw her friend sitting on the floor with the boots and jacket on, she gasped. Jenny understood that her appearance must be shocking to Agneta. Not that Jenny had any idea how she looked. She had not seen a mirror or used a shower for almost 4 days. Who gives a shit, she thought, deliberately refraining from looking at herself in the mirror down the hall. Agneta sat down next to her, putting her long legs in a lotus position. It hurts me that you think I would do something like that. Even if I have been in love with him for a long time, I would never do such a thing. And even if you think that about me, do you really think that about him? He loves and adores you. Jenny snorted, but Agneta continued. And he broke up with you only because he thinks that's what's best for you. When he came to me, he was crying like mad. He was as desperate as you were. Jenny fidgeted aimlessly with the buttons on her cell phone. Agneta waited silently. Since Jenny no longer responded or shouted, she hoped she was listening. By the way, do you remember what you said a couple of years ago, when I scolded you for still missing Peter even though you were together with Kevan? Jenny neither said anything nor looked at her friend, but Agneta felt that she had her attention. She imitated Jenny, and with her nose in the air she said, Agneta, never, and I mean never, would Kevan leave me for you. This time Jenny's mouth twitched. She wanted to stay angry and hurt, but couldn't help smiling at Agneta's imitation of her. Her reluctant smile spread, and in the end she even laughed briefly. Hearing that, Agneta dared to laugh too. I was pretty cocky in these days, wasn't I? Oh yes, you were. You had the whole world at your feet, and nothing could stop you. All those who got worse results than you on the tests were lazy idiots who didn't work hard enough. Come to think of it, you were pretty unbearable. No, I was not. You're exaggerating. Jenny protested, but the small smile was still lingering on her face. No, I'm not. Agneta looked closely at her friend before continuing. I'm not exaggerating, and strangely enough, at times I miss that overconfident and arrogant Jenny. Jenny became serious again and sighed deeply. Don't you think I do too, huh? I miss her enormously.